Welcome back to the Design Principles podcast. We thought we'd kick things off this week in a meta way by having the episode introduced by an AI-generated and decidedly British Sam Brown. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Design Principles pod, where we delve into the latest trends, ideas, and innovations shaping the world of architecture and design. Firstly, we are 10 episodes in and want to thank all of our listeners for the encouraging feedback and continuing support. I am the AI impersonation of Sam from Arete Architects, and today we return to our original format, a bit of free-flowing and sometimes heated discussion between the three of us. Why has an AI version of me introduced this episode? Well, today we're navigating the fascinating and rapidly evolving intersection of artificial intelligence and the creative realms of architecture and design. As we dive into our discussion, we'll explore how AI is transforming the design process from being a powerful and maybe questionable design generator to acting as a sophisticated assistant or caddy that enhances creativity and efficiency. We'll also tackle the ethical concerns that come with AI's growing presence in the industry, ensuring a balanced view of its potential and pitfalls. Lots to cover, so without further ado, let's dive in. So guys, welcome. AI, Artificial Intelligence.
Architectural institution.
The AI. The Architectural Institute of Artificial Intelligence. How does AI and architecture integrate? Funny that we're only into episode 11 and we're already on this topic, given my hot take at the start of the year in episode 1 was that AI would stop being relevant.
Wow. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, I might have been. Maybe I was a bit wishful. Yeah, that's true.
To be fair, though, I use it less now than I did when we recorded that first podcast, for sure.
Interesting. I also think it's very fitting that we're following on from our last episode with Chris, particularly his discussion around the digital and versus like the analog versus the digital, and here we are talking about the anti-analog, really.
Full Digimon.
Yeah.
I was moments away from asking Chris what he thought of AI, but I didn't want to go there. So
we only have about an hour for a podcast, right? Not two.
I think we'll get him back and we'll ask him again.
We'll get him back. Yeah.
Plus, I'm still learning myself, so there you go. So, what does everyone know about AI?
Well, I thought I'd just kick us off with giving a wee overview of what tools there are available, particularly around architecture and AI.
Is it worth backing up a little step and just trying to summarize
what is AI?
What the fuck AI is?
Can you? I mean, it's artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah, so I can do like a really
go on, Sutherland.
Very inaccurate.
We're all making this
basically like what my take on it and what I know about it. But basically, AI essentially has been around for quite a while now, and what is really only changed is our understanding or our interaction with AI, which is what happened when ChatGPT 3 was released by OpenAI, and that was the biggest movement. There was the change to the large language model, and that's pretty significant because it allows us to interact with AI in a different manner as opposed to previously our understanding of AI, what has been around, like companies like Google and that have been using machine learning for a long time now.
Yeah, so isn't AI fundamentally machine learning?
that
Like,
is a part
technically
of,
isn't
that
actually
is a
a
segment
artificial
of AI.
intelligence. Like it's not its own organism
It's
floating
not.
around.
So that's a huge separate thing is like AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and that's when it is, the Terminator. It's got its own mind. It does its own thing. At the moment, all we're doing is like sophisticated machine learning or algorithms that you input data and you tell it kind of what to look for, and you train it through a series of training processes, and it outputs what you want it to output within a certain parameter.
Yeah.
So, for example, large language models, it basically takes a lot of data, books, internet, anything like that. It understands how humans interact with that data, what it's kind of, what the language is, and then it basically allows us to, it performs tasks and allows us to communicate it with it through our own language, I guess.
Yeah.
But essentially, you feed it information, then it sort of regurgitates back what's within that pool of information you feed it. It can only regurgitate back what's
correct.
in
It
that
can't.
pool.
Exactly.
It can't think for itself.
It's essentially
organically
sped up
yet.
Googling and
Yeah.
desalinating of what's in that little swimming pool of ideas.
Yeah,
I think AI
yeah.
is like a confusing term because everyone thinks Terminator and robots, but
Which is part of it, but it's probably
like,
not how we interact with it.
Well, it's just like it's a robot, machine learning robot that spits out what you feed it. So I think
Totally.
which I think is fundamental for like how we view it in architecture and all this other carry on.
Yeah. So it learns, you train it, it learns, and it creates a model that allows it to predict, like the next word of the sentence, and you can kind of adjust it within certain parameters. But basically, it is confined to the data that you feed it and the parameters that you give it.
It's a Tamagotchi.
It's a sophisticated Tamagotchi.
I think it's a bit more than that, but yeah, sort of.
It's a Tamagotchi.
Just don't forget to feed it because it will die. I reckon the best.
That's why it's so powerful now, because it is trained by so much data. So that's why the large language models like ChatGPT are so amazing, because it's like the data that it's been fed is like just so comprehensive. So it's insane, really.
I think the best sort of description for the use of AI in general at the moment that I have heard is like people have likened it to golf, for instance. So AI is in effect your caddy. It knows the wind direction, it knows the lay of the green, it knows the length of the grass, it knows the angle that you need to make the shot, knows what club you need to use, blah, 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 blah. But you still have to make that shot. You're the golfer. And so essentially all it has is just this incredibly powerful tool of information that you can then use in your own way rather than it actually completely replacing you.
Depends entirely on how you use it. You got that the sports analogy, that artificial intelligence racing series that started. I think they had like one of their first races a few weeks ago in like Dubai or something, and they got like they're Formula One cars essentially.
But they're run by AI.
Wheel, but they're run by AI.
Wow.
Then, a whole bunch of them just like stopped and just did weird shit. But it's machine learning, so the more information you feed into it, then ideally they get better and better.
It's an Olympics year. Are we expecting the AI Olympics at some point?
Potentially. Boston
what
Dynamics
would be in there?
Well, after
some just robots doing backflips.
After the last episode, now that architecture is an extreme sport, the Olympics is going to be pretty interesting in the future.
I think
reset
we'll see
design
AI at the Olympics, but it'll be more like recognition, like pattern recognition of, I don't know, for example, speed walking. It's going to be AI now determining if your feet have left the ground or not. I don't know, something like that.
I mean, that's clearly, that's already happening though, right?
Minority
Yeah, exactly,
Report, they'll arrest you for not walking properly before you get to the race.
But I think that's an interesting point there, Ben, because what you've just said is like AI being used to sort of recognize something, and in this case, your foot leaving the ground. But I think that's where, like you said in your intro about AI, the popularity of it, or the like more common understanding of it, skyrocketed with the introduction of ChatGPT 3. But what we kind of forget is that it's been around, particularly like with architecture and stuff, for a long time. If you think about anything that involves parametrics or coding, like Grasshopper, Dynamo, those sort of programs, they're essentially an artificial intelligence where you've given them a prompt and it is producing like parametric outcomes.
That's correct. I don't think that's quite correct, because what you're talking about is visual code. So it's not a coding in particular, it's the machine learning aspect of the code that actually makes it AI.
So is the difference
some sort of training data? It needs data to be fed in, some sort of training to take place, and then some sort of actionable outcome.
So it needs to be able to learn to a degree. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly,
right.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which is like, seems to be crazy at the moment, seeing Instagram posts and stuff about saying, I do not consent to my images being used for AI training, blah, blah, blah. Which,
right.
Is
why not, though? Well, why?
Well,
why or why not?
I think it's super important I do not want any of my
train them
to be used to train an AI. It's like an AI regurgitates
work generation.
An AI, these things regurgitate what they're seeing. So if you fed it all with Sean Godsow buildings and you made a Sean Godsow AI, like they're far more complex and can handle more complex buildings, but they can just regurgitate their own little Sean Godsow architecture concepts. So,
but in refraining from using your work to teach AI, Gerard, are you then not, this is my counter to that argument, are you then not giving it enough breadth to learn more generally? You know, like we're looking at it holistically.
What do I care if an AI wants to learn how I design?
Would you not
I want me to be able to design like myself. I don't like, I want to limit, as if anybody was copying your work, like you want to limit people's ability to reproduce what you make. I think, like, I'm not out here doing spec homes. So it's like, for me, IP and artistic individuality is quite important, and I think people should be a little bit more serious about, like, Instagram, and even Adobe now is starting to. I saw another reel about all these scared about all your work being taken and used by these software that you use. So Adobe's now got this thing where they will take all your work or anything you have on Adobe and use it to train their AI. And these, like, they make it super hard to opt out or anything. So, like, this whole AI thing is very new to me. I've never been on ChatGPT or anything. I've only used generative fill on backdrops, photography backdrops. That's the extent of my AI knowledge. So, shoot messenger.
But just
I know nothing.
There's one more key aspect that I want to highlight here. Virtually all AI at the moment, pre-AGI, is is like a single task. How do I even say this? Basically, it can only perform one task at a time. It's designed to do a single thing, you know?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that can do multiple things, but you can have multiple AI algorithms doing different things, but everything is like task specific. So, for example, the Illustrator one, that's probably designed to assist you in creating, I don't know, easier cutouts and easier backdrops and all of that sort of thing. So you don't need to. And the only way that it can learn how to do that is by seeing how people are using the tools, getting that data fed back into it to actually improve the algorithm, and thus improving the AI to help you.
But
at the moment, it's a tool. It's a tool for yourself.
Well, if you use a tool for yourself, like I don't use AI in my design process, so I don't really want my work being used in AI and other people's work for their design process, because AI is a regurgitation of whatever images are fed in. So everyone becomes collaborators in somebody else's project. And I think there are intellectual property issues there.
Sure.
I don't know. Is it actually the images themselves, or is it how you're using it?
I think there's
like
two
Midjourney
things
and like if we talk just about image generating ones, they are fed off a database of images.
Sure.
Yeah. Midjourney definitely is.
And if your images is in there, most of the time, most of us will probably have an image in there. Like,
oh man, it's so diluted though.
Yeah, but I
does it really matter?
Well, for me personally, I don't particularly want my work being fed into teach AIs.
But back to that, I mean,
because that's my livelihood, is my ideas, my idea generation.
Sure. And I 100% get where you're coming from, Gerard, and it is a sticky, the whole copyright intellectual property thing around AI is sticky.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from, that caddy golfer analogy that I mentioned earlier, is it not the designer's responsibility to use it in like an ethical manner? Like that's where sort of questions come into it around if you are using AI in the way that you've sort of alluded to. Is it your responsibility to, as a designer, to sort of outline that you have used AI in that way and credit like others where they're due? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess it is possible for someone to, let's say on Midjourney, create a prompt that says something along the lines of
build me a Tadao Ando house.
Pretend you are Gerard Dombrowski. Based on his previous work, design me a 2-story building that will be blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it may potentially output an image of something similar to, or some certain aspects of what you've previously designed. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, so a better example is, I've just watched a video before on somebody saying, draw me a Tadao Ando house on a hill. And so Tadao Ando obviously has far more buildings out there. I've got like 1.5. So there's no real danger of anybody stealing my ideas yet, but maybe when I'm 90. But like there's I don't know if Tadao Ando has given these like Midjourney or whatever permission to use his pictures of his building.
But you can go and design that yourself anyway.
Yeah, but they're not. Like we're talking about AI. Aesthetic. At the moment, we're talking about AI in a sort of conceptual design route rather than using it as a caddy for compliance or something else. But
see, it's interesting because your take on it, Gerard, or your argument of use is something that I actually haven't even really considered. And
I hope not, because we're architects. We don't want to outsource
but I haven't
conceptual
even
design
to
AI.
Consider things.
But I haven't even considered that other people I haven't even really considered that other people would. Like the way that I've always seen the use of AI, or the way that we have sort of interacted with it today, is like you just said, is purely from like a compliance or like assistance point of view, for want of a better term. Like if you get an RFI and it's like, can you answer like these boring questions about fire? No one really wants to read the fire code. So you ask AI, and most of the time it gets it pretty right,
Yeah.
And obviously you're editing it and you're reviewing it, but like it saves you having to do a lot of the background work. So we use it for that sort of thing. Maybe even like write us the blurb for an Instagram.
Yeah, or help me formalize this email, write an angry email and say, make it nice.
make it not damning. Yeah, exactly.
But
like,
it's everywhere. Like it's
you're so right. but I hadn't even really thought of people using it as a design tool today. I mean, we've used like Archivinci, which is like a AI rendering generator, to just kind of like really quickly come up with like a render for a concept or something when a client's like, can I see what this kitchen looks like in pastels or something along those lines.
In that scenario, do you draw it and then you say,
Correct.
you put in like an image and it just applies materials, or?
Pretty much, yeah. It's sort of, it depends how, it's not perfect, and it depends how detailed you want it to go. But yeah, essentially, like you take a snapshot of your like Revit model or a hand sketch or something that you've done, and it like takes that and then just applies materials and scene and setting based on prompts. And that's like, it's, to be honest, we've never really actually used it in like a formal presentation, but it's like, it gives you enough of a concept that you can be like, hey, this is what it looks like, moving on to the next thing kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And when you do that, are you like, oh, yeah, this is exactly what I thought, or like
never? No.
Easy to control, or it throws a few spanners?
It's 95% spanners.
Got some weird fingers going on. Like,
that's the thing, and it's even like, you know, like it'd be straight lines, right? You know, architecture has a lot of straight lines, and it generally, I mean, personally don't do any parametric work, but AI for some reason just loves to just toss a random little curve in there, or, you know, like you said, a random like 8-fingered long fingered salad finger hands,
like heaps of Zaha or something.
Well, did you guys see that image that I sent you guys? So I used
it was ugly as hell.
Yeah, crazy, eh? So I used DALL-E. I was just like, create an image for our podcast episode widget, you know, that we have for each episode. I was like, make a contemporary building for a podcast about the use of AI in architecture, and that's what it produced. But
I don't think DALL-E's useless though. The only thing I've ever got that's good out of DALL-E is this one time I made my niece a sign for her dog grooming company, where I was like, put a dog in a bath and make it look like it's just been well cleaned. It did a pretty good job there.
Nice.
But still, you can't change it. You can't adapt it very well. Yeah, I think it's pretty average at the moment.
Oh, hold on, Ben. Gerard can't hear us. Do you know what? AI generation. The AI Gerard that we're using for this episode, he phased out. And so we've had to get the real Gerard back in.
Should we just fill him in there for a little bit?
Robot.
This is no longer Gerard Dabrowski. This is his AI.
What was that movie where they all plug in and then their little robot things go out during the day?
I was thinking about
Bruce Willis or something.
I was thinking about that film with Joaquin Phoenix, and he falls in love with the robot Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah. Not her. Oh, Scarlett. Her. Yeah. Her. Yeah, I was going to say hero, but nope.
That was a mean ass house, wasn't it?
That's going to happen. That's going to happen for sure. That's going to happen.
It's all very dystopian.
I mean, the only thing that is stopping that from happening is like ChatGPT being able to vocally talk, right? And that's, you can already get like plugins that allows you to do that, to translate the language to speech.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that video of the robot putting dishes away?
No. Like stacking a dishwasher.
Giving him commands. So it's powered by ChatGPT. It's like what looks like probably like a Boston Dynamics robot powered by ChatGPT. It's crazy, man. The technology.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the thing I think is like super powerful, because I'm pro AI, and I think like if you think of it like of single use machines, like a microwave, for example, which is just designed to like, it's a tool for humans to use to heat up their food. Like if you think of like all of these new AI opportunities there are, they're literally, a lot of them are just like tools that we can use for our own benefit. I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, there's like a lot of ethical, a lot of like things that need to kind of be overcome in terms of like making it not plagiarize everyone's work and making it ethically okay and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But other
Not
than
teach you how to
that,
make a bomb or
I
something.
think it's it can't do that anymore. They've been very strict on
anymore.
I think
it can teach you if you. I think the guys that work for OpenAI, they've got like access to the master file basically, and it doesn't have any of those limiters on it, and they can definitely
We're still very much
crazy
like
stuff.
beta phase. Like it's early days, so it's like that's the crazy thing. It's like the Wild West, and there's no real regulation on anything. So
no, it'll happen. Though. It is happening for sure.
But I think what you mentioned just before, Ben, is pretty relevant in that you use it for aspects of things. So you'd use it for aspects of design, or we'd use it for aspects of architecture. We're not going balls deep and completely giving ourselves over to AI. It's not like, although there may be, I don't know, I haven't actually even researched. It's not like there's an AI architectural practice. It's not like
Not
AI
yet.
can become a registered architect. Do you think it could ever go that way?
Well, maybe not from
there
architects.
are definitely, there are definitely practices that specialize in AI that create supportive software for the architecture and construction realm. There's a lot of people doing that, but I don't think. And there's a lot of tools that architects can use. There's like form generation is probably quite a big one. A lot of like just
Form generation
hacks for. Yeah, of course.
What's that?
It's variables. So
it's sounding conceptual. It's encroaching on our territory.
Conceptual. No, but it can be very beneficial. Basically, it can narrow down potential forms based on certain parameters, such as minimum sizes, like anything kind of structural parameters or resource consent parameters. So within this area, and it has to be under this height and yada, yada, yada. There's definitely like form generation. That was inevitable though. That was always going to happen.
So this is where Gerard gets nervous, and
I'm dubious
too get nervous because you're talking about using it as a design.
Well, form generation is design, whether you like it
exactly.
or not. That's design.
Yeah, and that's where that's where I feel that
and for me,
we should still hold this control.
I wouldn't do that in my office.
Yeah, but you do hold control. It's not like you have to do what it tells you to do. You can make your own informed decisions. Basically, it's like having 1 billion employees all going out and doing one sketch of what they think could look there and coming back and presenting it to you and being like, this is what I think. You're still the one making the decision.
That's a fair point.
You're not like, oh no, it's told me this is the most optimum way to design this building, therefore I have to go with this building design. Like, it's not a thing.
How do you feel
it's
though?
Still a tool.
How do you feel though, Ben, if you ask it to generate you a form and you are working on your own stuff on the side, and it produces something better than what you've done in terms of and how you feel, and so you adopt it? Do you feel there's integrity to your design then?
No, because it's still so underdeveloped. You at the end of the day, you want to do what you believe, what you perceive as being the best version.
Yeah. Do you guys ever remember the first essay you had to write as a kid?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember the exact one, but I remember writing essays.
I distinctly remember there was like this book. We had to do a book review or whatever on this book, and as soon as you read the quote or something, and then you're trying to place it in, like you'd get so influenced by, or you find an example that talked about something in a essay kind of way. I found it super hard to then pull back and not be influenced by the other words that I had seen. So you kind of end up writing this weird dislodge between
and then you
somebody else's
rewrite
idea.
the paragraph based on that quote.
Well, it's probably better when you fast forward to university or something and you Google, or you're looking through other books about other books. So somebody else is writing about somebody else's work. And, here, such and such. And I would find it real hard to pull my mind back away from how somebody else had written something to then write something myself. But in saying that, I've never been a very confident writer, so I don't exactly have the skills to.
But what's the difference between that and, let's say,
I'm saying it's very easy
collaborating
to be
on these projects?
So
are you saying that we're collaborating on these projects, right? So you've come up with this design. I'm like, yeah, that's actually a great design. I think that, that's better than what I've got. Let's go with that. All of a sudden, am I a bad designer because I think that your design is better than mine?
No. I'm saying it's hard not to be influenced by something. And between us two people, I'm all for influence. But I personally...
it's impossible not to.
Gerard doesn't want to be influenced by the machine.
Yeah.
He already is, except in this case, the machines are just other awesome architects.
I mean, it is an interesting thing because a lot of this comes back. I mean, we're talking about it from a concept point of view. A lot of this comes back to even just precedent, right? Like we're all designers, architects. We've been through university, even in our professional world. We rely heavily on precedent and looking at what other people have done before and using that to help inform solutions and things like that. Ultimately, we're coming up with our own design. But I kind of get where you're coming from, Ben, in that you sort of are using AI to create precedent for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not. The reality of it is I'm not going to be like, this is the final form. That's not going to happen. It's like you always have to evolve it. Like it doesn't have all the information. It's never going to have all the information because there's such a huge human element to architecture that, I mean, like maybe it'll get there. I mean, it probably will get there. Sorry, I'm going back on that comment, but there's nowhere near there yet.
It's interesting because we're looking at it from this design point of view, and I think you're right that it will never be able to design as well as we can. But
I don't know.
Will it be able to detail and draw and project manage and do all of the menial tasks that make up 80% if not more of our job? Is that the realm where AI is probably more going to fit into architecture, and the fact that you're after multiple projects you're able to build a big enough large language model that you can design something yourself, and then you feed that design into the large language model and say produce a detailed drawing package, and it just does it. Do you think?
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah,
I think a way more realistic or better application for it is the likes of the council or whatever, the building code actually being I don't know, having some sort of AI, 3604, for example. How awesome would it be if you could just, have your building designed and then output the detailed design and documentation pretty much automatically based on your own design. I think that is a better use of AI. And I also think in the construction realm is going to see a lot of benefits because it's just got so many areas where you can add value that is just low hanging fruit, like scheduling, scheduling is perfect for it, and it's humans just cannot manage a construction project to save themselves. No matter how good you are, there's just so many areas that you can optimize on in the future.
Do you know
humans have been finding ways to get out of grunt work for millennia?
It is. It's that grunt work.
It's a lot more palatable to give away sort of those areas. I just want to jump back to precedent real quick before we get too far away. Because I have more extreme thoughts here because I'm an extreme person. Don't judge me too harshly.
That's why you're an architect.
I will.
Yeah. So over the years, people are going to find out that I'm pretty opinionated. I think designing via precedent is good up to a point, but I think university pushes it way too hard, and I see people using it way too hard. And I think architects like and Holtrop, who actively tries to trick himself into ideas from other realms. So he does like ink splashes and squiggles, and then we'll dissect that and turn it into a building. So I see precedent being used way too much where people just make another version of somebody else's building. Like there's a world of mini Zumthors. But AI is generally designing via precedent, as you're saying. So it's a mash together of all the images it's seen, and it's only creating interpretation of other things that it's already seen. So I think, for me, more interesting architecture that I particularly want to see is newer things that you haven't seen before, and that's never going to come out of AI unless it's been fed that, which if it doesn't exist, it can't be fed.
I agree. Can I butt in there? Have you finished? Or
Send it, mate. Get in there.
Okay.
Like, keep the game of ping pong going.
This might be our most heated episode yet.
I agree, but I also disagree. I think like what you're talking about is like a small percentage of architecture. Like you can't. There's no way that any kind of this densification, any of these developments, anything like that, it's just not enough. It's just unfeasible to create something new every single time. So there's got to be like an element of I can do better, but I'm not like going to redesign the wheel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's got to be an element of let's just make them significantly better than what's out there now, not let's create something new altogether.
Well, I think that comes down to each architect individual and why you're what you're doing in each particular job. And as we talked about in the design episode, we kind of have lines of inquiry in design, and I guess what each project you're working on and why you found that project interesting to work on. And if for me, coming up with something new is always going to be like a strong priority.
In terms of that line of inquiry, Gerard, is there capacity at all for a line of AI inquiry though?
Exactly. If anyone's going to design
a challenge,
new and unique, surely it's AI, right?
Like, why not use that as your directive? And like maybe you obviously like set yourself some very clear parameters around what you're going to try and feed AI, and just see what comes out of it iteratively. You know, that could be a pretty interesting
AI.
process.
Maybe we print off a bunch of things, put it in a paper masher, and then just squirt it at things and see what comes out. And then there's your architecture.
I mean, you've gone analog again.
Yes. I'm just a mechanical person. So.
Totally, and I think what Ben's alluding to,
so I'm confronted by AI.
I think what Ben's alluding to is
I'm good at one thing and it's going to take it away from me.
Don't take it away from me, please.
It'll never take it away from you. But I think what Ben's alluding to is super relevant, because you're right, Ben, in that there is so much of our profession which isn't bespoke, you know, and not to say that it's what we necessarily do, although aspects of probably all of our businesses have a level of not regurgitation, but, you know, like you're doing the same thing over and over again. But there is, you know, from the built environment perspective, particularly in the residential realm, you know, the huge percentage of it is just the same shit regenerated time and time again. And that, what you're saying, is the place for AI rather than these like beautiful one-off bespoke elements. That's where it doesn't necessarily have a place unless you're going full meta and using it as your line of design inquiry.
Yep. Agreed. Well said, Sam.
Succinct.
I think, like, I've referred back to the Park Muse as a awesome example of a multi-unit. So at the time, it's a development, a lot of units on one site, but an incredibly interesting building and quite unique. But it does follow Roger's line of inquiry, his aesthetic and the things he was looking into, which AI isn't probably going to come up with a Park Muse in a hurry.
No, but Park Muse
is now that one's been designed.
But Park Muse is also a bespoke solution. You know what I mean?
But all architecture is bespoke. Everything we do is bespoke. That's
correct.
Why we have to redraw everything each time.
Correct, but unfortunately, so much of the realm that we work in is regurgitation. Look at all the group home build solutions and everything, and although we may not want that to be the case, or we may not necessarily see that as being the best solution, unfortunately it is. You know what I mean? So you sort of have
best solution, or is just what's happening?
Sorry, best solution is not the right term, but it is what's happening. So you sort of
the best
I agree, but it is there. So you sort of have to, so you sort of have to find solutions for working with those. Maybe not necessarily us, but others. So we're just sort of, what we're talking about is the place of AI in our profession, not necessarily its place in our practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, those group home builders are 100% investing in AI, and they're going to be...
they'd be foolish. They'd be foolish if they weren't.
Killing it 100% in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be idiots if they
automation.
Weren't. Maybe we've given them too much information.
I mean, that's perfect for it.
Yeah, and if you're banging out standard details, and then your AI could figure out which detail call out needed to be where, and at some point you'd probably be able to automate a set of plans.
Totally, that'll be there very soon.
In the development realm, this is slightly different from the architecture realm, the actual designing. But I have thought of a bunch of really powerful ways that I think that AI can be used that isn't currently being used. I guess one of them I would say for a developer that you'd want to be using is the automated feasibility studies. I think that finding the project, that's a perfect one. But then also understanding what marketing, media, what people are buying, what houses are selling for, all of that information you can automate, can be into a machine learning model, basically create some sort of investment criteria, and it can essentially output the top 100 properties that meet that criteria, or something along those lines, and then automated feasibility studies. So if you've got it under contract, you can kind of understand what you can actually build on that piece of land. There's so many amazing ways and creative ways that you can actually use AI or machine learning that isn't actually being done yet, or probably is done, but it's all in-house.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anybody has started developing that sort of thing, because like you said, it's a no-brainer, particularly from that development side, and surely there is people that are, there's players in the market that are big enough that are putting that effort into developing those large language models.
Yeah, they definitely are, because the other thing is a lot of those LLMs are basically, they can help you code those exact codes anyway. So that's another amazing thing, is machine learning helping you to develop more machine learning.
Yeah, I like the irony on those ones. Yeah, there's awesome. huge potential there. And the scope obviously is massive. I know we've been focusing on design, but yeah, it's huge.
Well, okay, surely there's some positive. Surely there's some pro architecture AI applications that even Gerard could use.
I think we've covered a few of them,
would use. I don't think we've covered anything that Gerard actually thinks is.
Yeah, I think the that feasibility side is interesting. I did a crit at uni the other day for one of Tane's groups, and it was this guy who was using drone LiDAR and was looking at overlaying AI to effectively outsource your site analysis. So it would sort of build you a sunlight access plane depending on your rules, or this is where I was hypothesizing where it could go. And then it could, like you say, it could show where in the site you could build within a set of rules, blah, blah, blah. So there's ways of speeding up grunt work, but I'm just an old man when it comes to coming on with the new technology.
I think my issue with it.
Do you like robots?
I think my issue.
Do you like robots?
Oh, I love robots.
What do you think of Boston Dynamics? Do you like robots that can do backflips? Do you like dog robots? Because that's just a different form of AI that you might appreciate a little bit more.
I definitely appreciate that the engineering marvel is like amazing, but fundamentally, I just have an element of fear to these things.
I think that's it,
maybe
Gerard.
it's healthy, maybe unhealthy.
That's what I was going to say before Ben just started going off his head about robots.
That's so cool.
That's what I was going to say. For me, it's not necessarily fear. I think for my issue with it is trust. Like I will ask it to do something and it will do something, but I'm still going to like check it. You know what I mean? And I'm still going to like edit it and review it. And ultimately, like, I don't think maybe it's my use of it, or maybe it's my like lack of confidence in it. I don't know what it is, but I don't have the ability to let it do something and just let that be. You know what I mean? So you ultimately end up doing the work anyway.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But like going back to the robot thing that I was losing the plot over. Another kind of robot is like the sensors and that sort of thing. So I mean, like environmental sensors and that whole information and data collection and data feedback. I think that's another amazing way to use it. I think
where's the AI in there?
Well, just the collection of the data being fed back through some sort of machine learning model to create predictions on how to do things better in the future, whether it be like thermally better, sunlight, or I don't know how the spaces are used.
And does this exist?
Just like, or
are you hoping that it exists?
I think it exists, but it's like quite fragmented. So at the moment, you might get one for carbon CO levels in your house or something like that. But I don't think there's like one that does it all, or there might be now.
Yeah.
But I just think that whole data collection thing has just been so underutilized in the construction realm. And I think that's another massive low-hanging fruit for us to be able to design higher quality, or as Sam would say, higher performing spaces and actually understand what makes a high performing space, because you've got post-occupancy monitoring.
Yeah, there's the post-occupancy stuff, and then it's like we talked about the feasibility side of it as well. I'm like, when you're talking here, and I don't know if any of this exists, but what I'm kind of picturing in my sci-fi mind is like like a little kind of like a Google Earth sensor thing that you could put on the site in your proposed build platform, and it scans it over a however long, 24-hour period, week-long period or whatever, and it tracks the sun and it tracks the wind directions and it gives you shading and it gives you all of this sort of data. So you're really optimizing the house location or your building location or whatever. That's where I could see it being super beneficial.
Yeah. Well, what I was alluding to was more of like a smoke alarm. So it's in a house already, but that is also cool, what you were talking about.
So how would the smoke alarm thing work, though? Is it going to learn?
Well, it's got a bunch of sensors, right? So it's got like your CO levels, it's got heat, it's got moisture, it's got movement, energy, basically all of that stuff. And it relays it back and the data, and it allows you to understand how your spaces are performing and what works and what doesn't.
I mean, smart homes exist to a degree, though, don't they? Like, I guess if it's...
Yeah, but there's no proof that those smart homes that you're building are actually smart homes. Because once you leave them, like, how do you know in 5 years' time it's performing to the same degree that it did when you built it?
Fair.
But do you need AI to assess that? Or?
Well, it's just, like I said, it's just another application.
That's just... reading the data.
How do you assess it otherwise, other than just living in it and being like,
well, no,
yes, this is
you
still
have the senses,
comfortable.
I think what this is boiling down to is like when the whole AI explosion took off and everybody was like, it's coming for our jobs, creatives were like, particularly like writers and things like that, I think were initially quite fearful because they were like, you can get ChatGPT to write you a novel. But actually, it can do that for sure. Like it can design a building for sure, but it doesn't do it with any class. It doesn't do it with any nuance. It does it with bizarre creativity. You know what I mean?
Actors are quite fearful as well.
Well, but it can do all this stuff, but it cannot do it that well. But what it can do well is, like we've talked about, is it's that low-hanging fruit. It's those menial tasks. It's that stuff where you just have to basically data mine or regurgitate information. And what it's saving us doing is going through and reading, the entire fire code, and it's summarizing what we need it to and is like the shortest thing. I think that's where it's got the biggest application to date.
Yeah, the compliance side seems pretty epic. Still haven't been brave enough to use it yet. But.
Yeah, I haven't. Johnny uses it for RFIs successfully, I might add. So it knows more than the majority of building consent officers, which is maybe like low barrier for entry.
Love dealing with.
I just use it to find like the correct part. Like to find the clauses and to find the information. I don't need to trust it because all it's doing is pointing me in a direction at this point in time.
You're kind of just using it as a PA, right?
Yeah. I think once it oversteps and becomes too included, it gets a bit pointless for me. Like if you're, let's say, worst case scenario, somebody runs an architecture practice that AI designs and then AI sorts out the compliance and AI does a good chunk of the drawing. Like,
what's your role?
What's your point? What's your role in life? Why are you doing this? There's easier ways to make money.
You're sort of there as architecture is definitely not the way to make money.
Exactly. Yeah, let's make that very clear. There's no money in this profession.
Well, most of us are here.
If anything, you might start making money.
Design and outputting like spaces and like.
Well, yeah, exactly, Gerard.
The process of creating is inherently enjoyable, and for me, the process of thinking about and like dreaming, futurescaping. Like that's the whole point of it. Like,
if you became totally AI driven, you'd just be a master prompter, really.
Yeah, but don't forget that everything's driven by the market. So unless a lot of people wanted to actually design that way, the tool may exist, but no one's ever going to use it anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though if there was
there
wasn't already there was a firm out there that was purely AI focused.
There's always somebody in there.
Oh, yeah.
Should I ask ChatGPT if there is?
Yeah.
Ask him how to design like Gerard Dombrowski.
How'd you go on your idea, Sam, of everything you said in this chat was generated by ChatGPT?
It doesn't have the speed. It can't flick off the top of the dome like I can.
Oh yeah.
So your computing power in your mind is.
It might work for me then.
Yeah, no, I did plan on trying to do this all through ChatGPT. I wanted to go full meta, but it just wasn't going to work.
Be like us after a couple of wines.
I should have dressed up as a robot. That would have been good.
Nice. That would have been fucking awesome if we actually did that. Oh, wow. Anyone else got anything?
So I keep asking ChatGPT about if there's any architecture firms that purely use AI in their design, and all it talks about is AI. Is like AI tools that are being used by like architecture firms or designers. So even AI can't answer it. These are the top 5. SpaceMaker, which uses AI to analyze and optimize sunlight, noise, wind, and building massing. There you go.
that exists.
Test Fit, which uses AI for real-time feasibility studies in residential and commercial building design. There you go, Ben.
Sign me out.
AI Space Factory, which uses AI and advanced manufacturing techniques to design and construct sustainable habitats, and Katera, which uses advanced technologies and AI in their design and construction workflows. Oh, that could be a firm actually that uses it.
Katera is so expensive.
Is it what is it?
It's a software, isn't it? It's software.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Offsite construction. No, it's an offsite construction company.
Oh, okay. Oh, Katera. They're not even around anymore, though. They went under, I think.
Oh, there you go.
The American one, eh?
That's it.
They were backed by the American government.
Oh, really? Interesting.
They fell over.
So AI didn't work for them.
They were too early, I think. I think they fell over before OpenAI existed.
Oh, right. Interesting.
ChatGPT, anyway.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to talk about the learning models quickly, because the Adobe thing I only learned about yesterday or the day before, where they've changed their terms of service or something, and they'll be taking all your data or all the things you draw
and charging you for it.
Surely
we get a discount.
Can you opt out of that?
I don't know. If anyone knows how to opt out of these things,
I know someone who knows.
Because I tried to opt out of the Instagram one. I followed this reel that
Sam. Ask our friend who does know these things.
I'll just ask ChatGPT.
Send it. Because I think that the people that are concerned with their images being used, like, I don't know, I think you should try opt out. But ultimately, you still want to be able to share your work with the world. For what's the point of building and making cool things if we can't share it with one another?
You can opt out, according to me old mate. Okay, I'll send you this link so you can go through the process.
Right on.
I'll put it in the show notes so others can do that too.
How would you could you recap Sam?
Can I recap what it says? No, Ben's got it up.
I want to recap the whole episode, assuming we're coming to an end.
I was just going to say, get AI to do it.
No, what were you saying?
I was going to say, has anyone got any sort of final thoughts? I think it's interesting, Gerard. I'm glad you came at it from the use of it creatively point of view, because I don't know why, but I've never really thought of using it as a design tool. But it's so true, and it's so relevant that people may. And the implications of that are pretty huge. And I think that's something we all probably need to consider, maybe less so in the professional realm, but I just caution any students that are thinking of using it, like, don't get into bad habits, really.
Yeah.
I think my positive outlook, or where I want to see, what I want to see more of, is definitely in the data collection realm, as in like for the environment and that sort of thing. Like, it'd be so good to collect more useful data out of the architecture and construction and environmental realm to help us make more informed decisions about our built environment. I think there's just not enough of that at this point in time. Mm-hmm. So anything in that realm, whether it be, I don't know, where to plant trees or what to build where or anything like that, I think is hugely positive.
Sorry, Gerard.
Yeah, I think like saying the data stuff is pretty epic, and the possibilities there. I just like making, and I don't want to be influenced.
I am robot,
and I want to be surprised with what I come up with versus what comes up when I type something into a computer. So
it's still making.
Good.
Yeah, I think
good final rebuttal.
Yeah, don't get into architecture if you.
A robot. No robots allowed.
Go find another career.
Nice.
No robots allowed in architecture. Sorry.
Robots.
Cool, guys. Oh, bloody good. Thank you
Sweet.
again. And just final sign-offs. Thanks for Connor and Jacob. And we've got some sweet new merch. If anybody wants
Why do you guys have the yellow ones?
Yeah, we do. If anyone wants a copper tea, hit us up. Hopefully we'll have an online store up and running at some point. But watch this space. And
Maybe
we'll
the
catch
next
you
one
next
will
time.
design with AI.
Shaboom!
Redefine t-shirts.
Peace.